Welcome back, wannabes and creators, to another episode of The Business of Art, the podcast that demystifies business for artists. And today on the show, we have Cory Huff. Cory is a marketing consultant who specializes in artists and other creative professionals through his association, The Abundant Artist. And I wanted to have him on the show to talk about mindset and marketing specifically for artists. Now, he deals with fine artists, but this can be applied to any artist. It's a great complement to our conversation with Jeff Goins a couple of weeks ago, which you can find at thebusinessofart.us/Goins. Before we get started, I want to let you know that I have a book coming out next month in September called Sell Your Soul, How to Build Your Creative Career. And in conjunction with that, I am offering a massive writer giveaway at GoSellYourSoul.com. Now, if you don't take advantage of this now, which is when this is launching the 10th, you're probably not going to be able to get it because it stops on the 17th. But if you go to Go Sell Your Soul anyway, you'll either be able to buy the book or get the first chapter for free. So whatever you do, go to GoSellYourSoul.com if you want to learn how to build your creative career. It's a massive data dump of everything I've learned in the past 10 years to create, build, and scale your creative company. All right, let's get on with the show. Take it away, Cory. Tell us what you're passionate about these days.
I am passionate about helping isolated artists build a community that doesn't depend on gatekeepers for them to make their living.
I think that is so important, and from what I've seen at the Abundant Artist, it's very much in line with our mission, which is to help creatives build better businesses. But even more importantly, to be able to build a business without relying on other people to validate you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I've been helping artists learn how to sell and learn how to run a business for 8 years. And, in the beginning, it was all, hey, I hope you can't hear that plane going by overhead. Geez, that's really loud. So in the beginning, everybody was like, okay, how do I sell my stuff on Facebook? Or how do I get more people on my mailing list and stuff? And they're still like that. But one of the things that's come up a lot after people come through our courses and they start getting sales and start learning how to do stuff is they say, I sit in my studio or I sit in my office and I make art all day and and then when I try to sell it, I don't have people around me who are supportive, or I don't have people around me who are as serious, right? I get a lot of, artists who are part of their local arts council or they're part of their local artist professional development group or artist association, and they're really serious about getting better at painting or getting better at sculpture or whatever, but very few people in that group are serious about creating a financially viable art career. And so the artists who are interested in that often can feel isolated because the artists who are doing it, who do have experience and are good at making money, they are often so busy in their own studio, running their own, making their own art and even running their own team of assistants, that they're not in the community. They don't have a whole bunch of other artists around them that they are teaching, right? So you get artists that are in these isolated situations, and they've expressed to me over and over again that they're looking for a way to overcome that isolation.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting because, I found that my history is writing, but I mean, it's the same across. I interview all sorts of artists and talk to all sorts of artists, and it's kind of the same that I have seen in the writing field is that there's a lot of people who default to getting better at their writing. And there's this exponent, when you first start taking courses on doing on writing or doing art, there's this exponential graph, right? You see returns so quickly because you're so far behind, and then that graph goes from exponential to arithmetic to logarithmic. But every time that I have seen people say, well, I know I should make more money, but I know the best way to make more money is just to take this course on writing and get a little bit better at writing instead of because that is the what they know. They know about taking courses in writing, and if they take this thing in business, oh man, that's something completely new to them. Do you find that also in your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's the myth or the idea that if you just get really good at your craft, then you'll make it. You'll be good. And you'll make lots of money, but that's just not true. Like there are a lot of artists who are very good at painting or writing or music or whatever who do not make a great living, right? Like, one of the best jazz musicians that I personally know is a QA web developer, right? Like he does QA for large companies. He builds software basically. And it's funny because he's released several albums. But he chooses to have the day job because he wants that steady income rather than doing the things that are required to make a living as a musician. And that's not it's not any dig against him at all. It's just whether you may not know what you need to do, or you may not be willing to do what is necessary in order to make a living from your art.
Yeah, so I like to use this analogy when talking about it. It's like at some point you're going to get good enough to make a living. And that is the barrier
Mm-hmm.
of entry. That means you can now compete with Stephen King and Louis Armstrong and Da Vinci. You can compete with them. You are good enough that someone might buy your stuff and not buy Stephen King's books. But
Right.
that is literally the bar. Now you've passed the bar, and now you have to do all of this other stuff to catch up to them.
Exactly. We did a training last week with a large group of people, and one of the things I talked about was everybody mythologizes the idea of the solo artist who does things really well, right? Like who he made it on his own success or her own success or her own talent, right? But every successful creative is, no man is an island, and that's true for creatives too. Last week I talked about Picasso, and Picasso was a genius. Yes, absolutely. He was highly prolific. He created 50,000 pieces of art. So yeah, absolutely, he was a standout example. But that's not what made him famous, and that's not what made him rich. The things that made him rich and famous were all of the people around him. It was the gallery owner who gave him his first show. It was Gertrude Stein buying pieces from him early on so that he could continue painting, and introducing him to all of the other luminaries of the Paris art scene, right? Hosting her studio or her salons there in Paris with all these other famous artists and socialites. It was Picasso had, his first and second wife. They were immensely helpful. So all of these people around him helped him become very successful. And even early on in life, like his father was an art professor, so introducing him to art early on in his life. He was able to draw at a master level by the time he was a teenager, right? So all of these things around him happened. He didn't just emerge as Picasso.
Right. What would you say to an artist who said, "Yeah, but Picasso just got a lot of lucky breaks. Like he's lucky, I'm not lucky."
Mm-hmm. So, there's the cliche that luck is preparation meets opportunity, right? And Picasso worked really hard, and he did a lot of the things that made his work encounter opportunity, right? So he lived in a smaller town. So when he became an adult, he knew he wanted to pursue painting, so he moved to Paris, where there were lots of opportunities. He lived in a crappy apartment with another artist, and they essentially took shifts sleeping in that apartment. And because of that, he was able to keep his costs down so that he could continue painting. And when he met Gertrude Stein, he had developed his talent to the point where he met her, and then When he met her, he recognized the value of that relationship, and he developed that relationship and continued to be her friend and to not like drive her away. Right. So there are, if you look in contrast, like artists like Van Gogh, he had immense opportunities during his lifetime. His family was connected to some wealthy gallery owners, and or very early in his career, had an opportunity to be supported. He had his bills paid by these wealthy gallery owners, but because of his mental health problems, he drove a wedge between them and ended up severing that relationship and ended up ruining his opportunities there. Even Mozart, Mozart was very successful. He had a series of very wealthy patrons. But he squandered away those opportunities. He was difficult. He was a difficult person, difficult to work with. He actually literally got kicked out with a boot to the arse by the butler of one of his noble patrons because he was so difficult to be around. And then he squandered all his money by buying the most expensive apartment that he could buy and sending his children to the most expensive private schools. And then he ran out of money because he had made all of his patrons angry.
Right.
Right. So yeah, luck happens, but you also have to you have to recognize the opportunities that you have and take advantage of them.
I think that's so true. I live in LA, so I deal with a lot of movie people. I'm like, hey man, if you move to LA and like you have a bad script and you meet Steven Spielberg, that's a great lucky break. Like, not that, I mean, Steven Spielberg's not like a recluse, but like not everyone in the world gets to meet Steven Spielberg. If you hand him a crappy script, yeah, that was a lucky break that you were not prepared for.
Mm-hmm. Now, I do want to say, like, I think a lot of people downplay the role of luck, and luck absolutely happens. Um, some people have less advantages in life, right? If you are in America, if you are white and rich and pretty, then more opportunities are going to happen for you. You're going to be luckier, probably. But that doesn't mean that opportunities don't come up for other people. It may be harder, but that doesn't matter. You still have to do the work.
Right, right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, some people get to play the game on easy and some get to play the game on hard, but like you can still beat the game on hard. It is harder.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I think I have so much respect for those who are beating the game on hard mode, so to speak, right? Like if you come from a disadvantaged background and you are succeeding, major props to you.
Absolutely. So, what do you think the number one thing that that holds up artists from making a living doing this is?
Belief, honestly. And I know it sounds so trite, but it really is, in my opinion, it's belief. If you don't believe that you can make a living from your work, you won't do the things that that are required. And so I see a lot of artists who they have tremendous opportunities in front of them. They have connections, they have, friends who are very successful, and they don't take advantage of those opportunities. I had an artist that I was coaching a couple of years ago who was friends with a famous singer. And I said, well, what could you do something with that person? And he was like, well, I don't want to take advantage. And during our conversation, it came out that this famous singer had offered to give this person an opportunity. And he had said no because he, for whatever reason, he didn't think it was okay, even though the person offered. So I see artists get in their own way a lot. I've met artists who, I had a client last year who he had organically developed 1 million followers on social media. He had just an enormous following and wasn't making any money because he wasn't asking for the sale because he didn't believe people would buy his work. And literally just all he had to do was start asking. And suddenly he's, making good money.
Right, right. So how do you break somebody of that like a belief? Like is there a couple of tips that you've learned that like someone could quickly implement, or maybe not quickly, but like that are the
Right.
most important to break that like disbelief?
Yeah. Um, Man, changing your mindset it's hard, and it's something that you deal with at every level, from starting out to very advanced, right? Um, so I guess in my time, what I've learned about when I'm working with somebody who has a mindset challenge is calling them out on it, saying, "Hey, why do you believe this? What evidence do you have that that's true? What evidence do you have that it's not true? What if you tried acting as if it were possible?" Right? So having a coach is really helpful. Also having um, peers who can call you out when you are getting in your own way is really helpful. I know that early on in my career, I had a handful of friends. We would meet together a couple times a month to talk about our businesses. And when one of us was struggling, somebody would say, "Hey, it doesn't have to be as hard as that," or why do you want to do it that way? Why does it have to be that way? So having people that you trust who have skin in the game, who are actively trying to do the things that you're trying to do, or at least actively trying to build a business, if not in art, in something else, but people who are whose experience is relevant, who can hold you accountable in a kind way. And then, so one is a coach, two is peers, and then three is just continuing to learn, investing in yourself, right? So, there are a handful of books that I can recommend. You can invest in courses, but continuing to sharpen your mind so that you learn to recognize when you're getting in your own way, and so that you have an arsenal of tools in your brain so that when you encounter different problems, you can say, "Oh, I read about this," or "Oh, I learned about this. This is what other people have done in this situation."
Yeah, I want to unpack a couple of things that you said there because I think there was a ton of gold. The first is this idea of like, what if you acted as if it was going to work instead of acted like it wasn't going to work just for a small amount of time, even if it's just for
Mm-hmm.
today. And I found that when I was first getting started and when I tell this to other people, it's just like just for tomorrow, just at the next show you're going to do, just like act as if people are going to buy it and you're going to make a lot of money. Like, don't do anything else different. Just like pretend like every person who's coming over to your table is going to buy your thing or is actually interested in what you have to sell. And the amount of sales that people can make just with that slight shift is incredible.
Yeah, and it's really funny because when you're just starting out and you hear people say stuff like that, it's really easy to be skeptical and say, "Well, I don't think so." Like that's how I was early on. I was like, I don't think that just believing is going to change anything, but it really does. It changes the way that you act.
Right. And more importantly, like the truth is that they are interested. You are the one who is thinking that they're not interested. Or a perfect example of this is building a mailing list. Like the number one thing that I hear when I say, "Well, do you send emails out? How big is your mailing list?" They go, "I don't want to bother people." I'm like, "Well,
Yep.
like you're not bothering them. They are interested in what you have to do. Like you can burn that bridge, but you don't have to burn that bridge if you keep sending emails that people want to hear and giving them good information and interesting things that you're talking about. Like they are not going to be bothered by that. And literally just changing from I'm bothering everybody to people want to hear means that you are going to send that email. And the truth is that they do want to hear, and you are telling yourself a fallacy.
Yeah.
I know that's at least how it was for me a long, long, long time ago. And the interesting thing is if you can get that one little success where you were like, oh, everyone didn't hate me when I sent that email. And then you can then build on it and build on it and build on it. And eventually you look back and you're like, I kind of remember when I thought that I was bothering me, but I've had so many of these things happen that objectively, I can't be bothering them because I still have a growing mailing list every month.
Yep. I remember I went from emailing people, like when I first started my business, I emailed people like once a month or something like that, or maybe less. And then I went to 3 times a week. And because somebody said you'll get better results if you go to 3 times a week. So I wrote 3 blog posts a week and emailed every single one. And my mailing list exploded, a couple thousand to like 6,000 in a couple of months.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm in the process of like starting my first giveaway. While we're recording this, like today, I'm starting it because someone sat down because I started seeing it. I used to just when I would go to shows and about 80% of our mailing list comes from just like being at shows, I would try and just sign up people who were buying from me on the spot. I was like, okay, these are buyers. These is a good mailing list. But then I started to see people who joined my mailing list and then would see me at shows like the next year, had never bought from me, and then either remembered me after that year or finally bought from me at some point in this year because they they learned about me in that moment. And then they found
Mm-hmm.
more about me and liked what I had to say. And yes, I everybody has a very large unsubscribe rate, but the subscribe rate, the continue to subscribe rate being 70, 80, even 90% or 99% with each email, you know, has been like a mindset change. So now I'm like, okay, how do I just get the most amount of people on my mailing list so that at least the most amount of people know me, like me, and trust me? Because if it's just about putting as many people in the top of the bucket and funneling them out, let's just get a bunch of people in the top of the bucket.
Yeah. Yeah. That's absolutely the way it works.
And it's been kind of eye-opening to me and to other people where, I remember the first time that I sent out an email and it was like freaked me out when one person unsubscribed out of like 200. And now I see other people like fretting. They said, "Oh, 2 people unsubscribed," and I'm like, 2 people? Out of how many? They're like a couple of hundred or 1,000. I'm like, that's not bad. I get like dozens of unsubscribes every time I send an email out. Like if I don't get a bunch of unsubscribes, I
Yeah.
look back and I'm like, wait, what was the open rate like? Like what was the open rate must have been horrible on this email if I only got a couple of unsubscribes.
Yeah. I got an email that I sent last week that I had 80 unsubscribes.
Right. And I mean, that's just, some people are not going to like you. Some people are going to love you. And I have found that, like, there's nothing you can do to get those people from unsubscribing. Nothing. If they want to unsubscribe, they are going to unsubscribe. They just are. That's what they're going to do. And that's okay. I'm perfectly fine with them unsubscribing. But my big mindset shift was the shift from worrying about those 80 people to worrying about we've got like 5,000, 6,000 people that are on our mailing list that don't unsubscribe every week.
Yeah. Yeah. And one way to think about it, again, a mindset shift, right, is great. Those people are not my people and they have shown themselves out. So I can concentrate on the people who are my people.
Right, but more importantly than that, what was really the mindset shift for me was realizing that, like, not everybody is my people either. So like when I moved it from like what that person's feeling to how I'm feeling, I was like, oh well, I like certain things. A Target email, like the Target email, like the email that Target sends with all their coupons, completely lost on me. But there are authors that I voraciously read all of their emails and like marketing people that I go, man, I haven't gotten an email from them in a long time. I hope they're doing all right. And like I've never met them. I only know them through like subscribing to their email list. And I'm like, okay, so like I'm not Target's people. That's okay. Target has people. I'm not them. And like when I started thinking like I unsubscribe from a lot of email lists, but there are some email lists you will pry from my cold dead hands.
Yep.
And is there anything, so you talked about peers, you talked about reading, and you talked about having a coach. But
Mm-hmm.
if somebody is sitting here, like fretting about they're like that they're no good, that like nothing can help them, that like they are never going to make a sale. Is there one piece of advice that like you would tell that person that could even just get them started doing something, anything, whether it's look at a coach, whether it's read a book, something that would get them from this place of like I can't do anything, this like lethargy, to like actually taking just the first minor action?
You can literally do anything. Like anything that you do will help with that situation. Um, Prove yourself wrong. Like you have this hypothesis in your mind that you're worthless and that things aren't going to work out. So try to prove yourself wrong and see what you can do to prove yourself wrong. That could be any number of things. It could be send an email. It could be, um, go back and make some more work. It could be, uh, talk to like here's one thing that I will often say to people. Okay, so we teach internet marketing, which can get really complex and feel really soulless. So what I'll often do is say, okay, back up away from building a mailing list and growing a social media following. Pick 5 to 10 people who you personally know, who you think would be interested in whatever you do. Send those people a personal email. Hey, Russell, this is Cory. I know that you enjoy painting, or I know you enjoy collecting art. I wanted to let you know that my line of work is available for sale. I think you would love it because of XYZ reasons. Here is a link to a place where you can see some of it. I would love for you to have a piece. I think that you would love this piece. Let me know what you think. And a lot of times, if you can get yourself to send those individual emails to people that you know, you'll see results. If you send it to 10, 20 people, you'll see some kind of result, some kind of movement. Maybe somebody won't buy something, but they'll give you a referral to somebody who will. Or they might give you some feedback that will help you spark an idea on how to market yourself. Our friends and family, the people that we would send these kind of emails to, are generally pretty supportive. There are people who are in situations where their friends and family are not supportive, but for the most part, our loved ones want to see us succeed, right? So that's probably the best advice that I can give somebody who's stuck.
It's just to try and prove yourself wrong and like take that one step forward. I was talking
Yep.
to a friend, my friend's starting a mailing list. We were talking last night. He's like, I hope it succeeds. I was like, I'm going to be honest with you, my friend. It's probably going to fail and fail miserably because most things that you do will fail and fail miserably. However, you will learn so much from the failure of what you're doing now. You'll pick out one thing that was so successful in that 10 failures that it will pay for 50 failures. But you have to do it. So like what I want you to do is make sure if you only get 10 people on this mailing list or if this gambit fails, like that's okay. There's one piece of it, one piece that will be so that will make this whole failure worth it.
Yeah. You're going to learn something even if you don't hit the goal that you wanted. You're going to learn something
Right.
useful.
I've always said that it was something that you've seen that Matrix, right? So
I'm familiar
so
with
at
it.
the
Yeah.
end, I'm not gonna I don't want don't let's not I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but like it has been like almost 20 years, so I am at the end. Neo goes from seeing the Matrix, like the people in the Matrix, to seeing the code behind it and being able to manipulate the Matrix. And I've always thought entrepreneurship was very much like that, where like if you just do it long enough and have enough failures and get punched in the mouth long enough, you start seeing the code behind everything and starting to be able to predict how things are going or how things are going to or what certain actions what will happen if you take certain actions. Now it's not like 100% you can predict everything, but you've just done so many different things that you've either tried this before very unsuccessfully, tried it before moderately successfully, or tried it before very successfully, and you can sort of see when someone comes to you with an idea or when you have an idea what the most likely end result is going to be, only because you can now see the code behind all of this stuff.
Right. Oh man, we're getting into some stuff like the Matrix. At least as far as I know, the Matrix isn't real. But the idea that there are ways things happen that we don't understand, yeah, that's absolutely true. Like there's a lot of stuff going on that is underneath the surface that has to do with psychology and like the steps to take, like the steps of selling are actually pretty easy. It's pretty easy to learn. There are endless books on how to sell, endless books and courses and stuff on internet marketing. You can take any of them and you'll learn something. The hard part of running any sort of creative business is keeping your mind right. And believing that you can do it and not allowing yourself to defeat yourself.
I think that's so. I used to do these talks, and even this, where it was almost all like instructional, step by step. And, it was like 90% was like, here's how you do it. Like, here's how to build a graphic novel from scratch. And it was like step 1, here's step 9. And I would just start and get right to it. And people would leave, and they would be very poor. Like, I get very poor rankings on these talks. I was like, I don't understand. Like, I'm showing you step by step exactly how to do it. If you just follow these steps. And what ended up happening was people would come into that talk not believing they could do it. And so I could give them all of the instruction in the world, read every book to them, give them 50 things to do. It didn't matter because at the end of that talk, they were not going to take action. Because they didn't, they even though they saw all of the steps, either it was too complicated for them, or it looked too hard, or they just didn't believe that they themselves could do it.
Yep.
I have for a long time had to like work away from that to more mindset stuff, and they're like, okay, can we agree that money is good? If we can just agree that money is good, if at the end of this conversation I can convince you as an artist that money is not the enemy, it is a friend of yours, then I can give you all of the rest of this stuff to do for how to make money. But I have always found that the biggest impediment to people making money, especially as an artist, in any other entrepreneurship field, I've never seen it anywhere else, in any other kind of entrepreneurship, is they go into it with the belief that money is bad.
Right.
Or if they make more money, the more money they make, the worse they are as an artist.
It's interesting. I don't think you have to believe that money is good in order to make money. I have a good friend who is an architect, and he hates money. If you ask him about it, he gets very frustrated by the topic. But he recognizes that we live in a world where if you want to eat, you must have money. And he's married and got a couple of kids, so he, is responsible for them. So he does the things that are necessary for him to make money. And he has found a way to operate as an architect where he does things that he feels good about. He runs a business that he's excited to run, and he makes very good money, even though he dislikes money. And I love it. And it's an interesting conversation. I love talking to him about it because money is neutral. It's just a tool. And if you do the things that earn money, then money comes. So you don't have to become emotionally attached to it either way. You just have to perform the actions so that you can eat, so you can make more art, so you can do all the other things.
Right. The best way that I've ever been able to rationalize it as someone that really doesn't care about money either way, but does like to eat and not work. Like I like this. Like I always say like there's a job right over my shoulder, and like I know that, and so like I work as hard as I do because like I don't want the job. Like the money is just a byproduct of all the other stuff that I do, but like I don't want to have a job, a real job. Like I want to do this stuff. So like I work really hard as I have to make sure that I never have to take that job again. But the way that I've been able to rationalize it is while people don't have while people may have an aversity to money or making money, I've never met someone who's an artist who said, I'm happy with the amount of people who look at my work. Ever. Ever. Steven Spielberg's not happy with it. Stephen King's not happy
Hmm.
with it. Every artist I've ever met has wanted more people to like and appreciate their work. And like everybody. And I have said, cool, well, if you get more people to appreciate your work, the byproduct of that is
Yep.
money. That's a byproduct to more people appreciating your work.
Yep. That's absolutely true.
Is there anything that you have found that can help people have, maybe not say money is the greatest thing in the world, but at least to get to the point where like money is not evil, where like it's not like them against
Right.
money?
So I think that you can have an impact as an artist without making money, right? You can there are plenty of artists out there throughout history who have changed the art world, who have had a massive impact on people without becoming personally rich, right? So what I always ask is, what is your goal, right? What is your goal in in making art and in learning how to bring attention to your art, right? If your goal is, I want to change the art world, you don't need money to do that, but it helps. So then we can talk about, okay, what is the strategy for bringing attention to your work if you don't care about the money? And what will you do if the money comes or doesn't come, right? So it's all about goals and what you want to have happen. If your goal is make a living and support your family, then, we got to make some money and we'll figure out how to do that. But if your goal is to highlight a specific cause or to start a public discourse on a certain topic, or to, shed light on various atrocities, like art can do all of those things. And learning how to sell and learning how to market yourself will help you do all of those things, whether you want to make money at it or not. Charities, purpose-based organizations still have to learn how to market their message, even if they're not trying to make money from it.
But they do have to make money as well. I mean, a charity organization still needs revenue to like be a charity too.
If the people who are doing it don't have another source of income, then yeah.
I suppose I mean, most of the more successful charities, the ones that can help. I've always thought about impact, just like you
Mm-hmm.
said, and like the more successful charities, the ones that can have the bigger impact, end up also having generally a larger war chest because they can then the more revenue they make, the more they can give
Sure.
away.
It just depends on what your goal is. If you want to have a massive, countrywide or nationwide or worldwide impact, yeah, you need money. But if you are, rallying around a specific cause that is local to your small town or to your city, you don't necessarily need money. So it just depends on what your goal is, what you want your impact to be.
Sure, sure. I like the idea of like what your goal is. I try and even when I do a show or when I do a book, like what is the goal of this piece? Like what is the revenue goal, the financial goal, but what is the overall goal of doing everything that I do? And it really does help focus as like, okay, does this help move me towards or away from that goal?
Mm-hmm.
So, I want to talk a little bit as we wrap up here about the Abundant Artist. Could you tell us a little bit about the site that you run and the community that you
Yeah,
run?
absolutely. So the Abundant Artist started in 2009 as originally it was just a blog, and it was my way of exploring, okay, how do creative people, how do artists make money? And my background as an artist is in theater, but a lot of my friends were visual artists and performers and stuff. And so when I got my first post-college day job, it was working for a little internet marketing agency. So I learned a lot about marketing and started helping my friends sell their stuff. And the people who were the most responsive to what I was teaching and helping with were the painters and sculptors. So that's who I sort of fell in with, right? And so for the last, 8 years, I've been helping artists learn how to sell their art online. And we've got 25,000 people that are registered on our site that are members of our free community. And then we also run a trade association for fine artists where there's a members only paid access to the community. And these are professional artists who are serious about trying to make money. They're trying to build a career from their work. Then in addition to the community, we have monthly challenges with professional artists who have made it, so to speak, talking about what they did to get there. And around each month, we pick a different topic and help those artists basically try to achieve whatever that artist did within that month. And then we also offer group discounts for things like health insurance and legal help for copyright and stuff like that, things that are important to artists. And then we do some advocacy work on behalf of artists. So that's the gist of our organization. We have a bunch of courses as well that will help you learn how to build a business as an artist. But the focus of the Abundant Artist is our association, our community.
Excellent. And if someone wanted to come and join, what would be the best path for them to join? Where would you recommend they started? They went to
so I would recommend checking out the association. It's theabundantartist.com/association is where you can join. If you're a professional artist and you're focused on going pro, then go there. If you are just getting started and you just learning about what it means to be in business, and maybe you're just out of art school or whatever, head over to theabundantartist.com. That's our homepage, and join our mailing list to get access to our free membership library. And there we have a bunch of free resources on where to sell your art online and how to figure out how to get your first sale.
And if you just want to dip your toe in the water, I also know that, though I've not taken your courses personally, I've looked through all of them and they all look excellent as far as if you want to go from zero to making to learning about making a living as an artist.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we do.
Excellent. All right. So now is the point in the show where everybody that's been zoned out doing their artwork tunes back in, and you get to impart the one piece of advice that you want them to remember about this show. It could be something that you've already said. It could be something new that you haven't said yet, but this is your time to give them the piece that they should remember for when they walk out of this show or when they stop listening.
What I would say is, if you are an artist who is trying to make it, and you feel isolated or feel like you don't have the resources you need, find a community. You can do it through the Abundant Artist at the association, or you can reach out to a local community, find some other artists in your area who are also trying to make it, get together, meet with them on the regular, and help each other out. But stop trying to go it alone, and instead start working on building a community for yourself.
And I would caveat that with also saying, if your local area doesn't have a lot of people who care about making a living doing this and you feel stunted by that, there are plenty of communities like the Abundant Artist online that really do, or this podcast, probably if you listen to this podcast, you already know this, but that really do care about not just being great artists, but being great artists who are trying to make a living doing this. Okay, so, can you give us where the best way is to find us online? and where the best place to find you online is, and then we'll say
Yeah,
goodbye.
theabundantartist.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks so much for having me.
So that was Cory Huff. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. If you did, make sure to find Cory online and thank him. If you liked this episode, please review, subscribe, and rate it today. These ratings are what I use to let me know that I'm on the right track. So head on over to thebusinessofart.us/iTunes today, or anywhere that you get your podcasts, and please leave us a rating, review it, and subscribe. And if you're a writer who wants to make more money selling books, head on over to our group, Authors and Creators Making Money Selling Books, at writingandsellingcommunity.com. One last thing, head on over to GoSellYourSoul.com and check out our awesome new book, Sell Your Soul, How to Build Your Creative Career. If you do it right now, you can enter to win an amazing giveaway. Everyone gets the first chapter anyway, even if you don't win. If you wait a little bit and you're listening to this a couple weeks later, go get the first chapter of our book at GoSellYourSoul.com. Thanks a lot, wannabes and creators. I will see you next time.